Hi guys, and welcome to round 5 of the 2023 Superlights Championship here at GPVWC. It's a brand new circuit for you today at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. Slight change from normal. I'm joined by Chris Butcher tonight. Ewan can't be with us, but it's great to have you, Chris. And what an excellent job Chris Williamson has done with this track to bring it to GPVWC for us. Chris, are you there? He is not. Well,
Hello,
never mind.
Sorry, I am.
He's here, but muted.
Yeah, rookie commentator's mistakes there. Yeah, it's great to be here. Slightly different from me to be commentating on a race rather than taking part in one. But yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic circuit. I'm sure the drivers are enjoying it. It's great to drive around, but it's demanding as well. So hopefully we're going to have an entertaining race tonight.
And it's there's been some talk about track limits and what we can do to make some adjustments on those. Just briefly talk us through what GPVWC have done to sort of fix the kind of track limits stuff we saw in FS2 last week.
So usually R-Factor 2 has a in-game system that's used to detect the track limits, and for the most part that works really well. And what it does, if it detects the track limits for each, whether that's an extension or a cut, it will give the driver an opportunity to give up any time gained, and if they fail to do that adequately, then they'll get some warning points, and if they get enough of those, they'll get a penalty in game. But at this track, unfortunately, it's not working correctly for whatever reason. So we've reverted back to systems used in previous seasons. So it's a little bit more harsh probably. So the drivers are going to have to be kept on their toes, so to speak. But basically, the drivers will get 3 warnings or three cuts for free, and then there'll be a time penalty for each additional cut after that. So they're going to have to be careful to make sure they stay within track limits.
Fair enough. Sounds like it's quite easy to cut here, and there is a lot of obviously runoff area beyond the curbs and so on. How much of an advantage actually is it to run wide on those sections? Is it something where if the drivers kind of lift off and they'll sort of cede an advantage, or what's the sort of kind of judgment call on that?
I think we're going to try and take a pragmatic view on it. If somebody's made a very conscious attempt to give up any time gained, then I think it would be unfair to penalise people heavily for that. So what we'll be looking at is if people have sort of sought to gain an advantage. If somebody's run wide off of the track and they've just lifted throttle considerably and they've clearly lost time as a result, and there's no advantage gained from that. So I think that's fair enough. But if somebody's just sort of run wide and they've kept the foot in, then that's the sort of thing that will attract penalties.
Fair enough. I should mention, obviously, Chris is the head of our kind of committee that looks after penalties and so on. So he is well versed with the rules and the regulations, and in fact helped write a vast majority of them. So thank you for being with us tonight, Chris. Qualifying's underway. We should briefly talk about the championship standings at the moment. Owen McGorgy is absolutely walking away with the championship. We're only 4 rounds in, of course. A lot can happen. But he's had 3 wins out of 4, and the other result was a 2nd place. He's been absolutely the class of the field so far. And it does help, obviously, it does help him that some of his rivals have missed around. So Liam Duval, Fabrizio Gobbi and Giuseppe Ragusa, all podium finishers in their own right. They've all missed around so far. And Ragusa's the only other race winner this season. He's back, I believe, for this round, alongside his teammate Fabrizio Gobbi in the TX3 cars. Yes, indeed he is. That we're looking at Gobbi here on track. So, I mean, obviously, McGorgy, absolutely the pace setter. But there's a couple of drivers I think that could steal a little surprise or two. Who have you got your eye on tonight, Chris?
I think Sandeep Singh's probably a good one to look out for. Obviously, he's Owen's teammate, so he'll have benefited from all the work they do as a team on setup and strategy and what have you. But Sandeep's well known for looking after his tyres, and this track's quite punishing on the front right, so it'd be interesting to see if Sandeep's tyre management can sort of overcome Owen's raw pace, so to speak.
All the drivers will now be starting a lap. You can't see them all on track. Obviously, independent qualifying. We've been through this many times this season, but just a reminder, they are all out on track, but then kind of not in the same session. In the virtual world, you can choose to be in different sessions, and we can see Gobby out on track. But if we were to switch to another driver, they'd be in a similar position on track. Very fast and flowing this track. It's all about momentum. The Jeddah track is therefore really a driver's track, actually. It's all about commitment and bravery, but not overstepping the limit too much. And that was right on the limit of that corner there as he comes through sector 1 and into sector 2 now. So Gobby, obviously the purple time that you see there, everyone's going to be setting kind of purple times at the moment till the first time goes on the board. But he's a very quick driver, has shown his pace in the past in GPVWC, and he seems to be on a fairly committed lap here, Chris.
He is, and you know, Gobby is a very quick driver in his own right, and I think the difficulty around here is going to be, like you say, it's all about momentum, but you have to get so close to those walls to carry the speed, and it's just going to punish any mistake quite severely, really.
Yeah, and any damage in the race is going to cost you through the rest of the race. McGorgy's done a 31.9. He's done a 31.6 in practice, so a few tenths off, but he is currently the pace setter. You can see Dylan Platt and Joseph Herlock up there within a tenth of a second of him. Gobby's going to be P5, look, with a 5 tenths off with a 32.492. So he doesn't quite get to that target time. A couple of drivers pitting on their lap. They must have had big mistakes and so on. The pit entry here is kind of a brave one as well. It's very Baku-esque, that pit entry. You've got to fully commit to the line, but so easy to pick up a pit lane speeding penalty. Adrian Faber, he is on a lap now for PZZW, coming through the final corner now, and right up to the edge of the wall. He is about a second off, I would say. So this would slot him in and amongst the top 10. He comes across the line now and goes exactly 10th. So a 33.569 for him. He actually picked up some time in the middle and last sectors there compared to McGorgy's time. So running different levels of wing. It's an interesting trade-off here, the wing levels. You can either go for the straight line speed of the fast final sector, or pick up some extra downforce and pick up that sort of mid-sector apex speeds.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm a little bit surprised, if I'm totally honest with you, because I expected drivers running higher wing levels to be, challenging for pole probably, because over one lap I think it's probably the faster route, but you do compromise your race a little bit if you're in traffic, because it's just that bit harder to overtake and what have you. But you know, Owen's proving us wrong on that at the minute, because he seems to be running some lower wing levels, looking at his top speeds, and he's the class of the field right now.
I think Owen's the class of the field anyway, regardless of his wing level. But definitely running lower wings. Looking at race view, if you want to look at this yourself, it's www.race-view.com. You can click on the GPVWC sim racing server to see what we're seeing, which is a live timing. Shows you a little bit more information than you get on the YouTube channel's tower. Shows you top speeds and so on. Christian Francesconi, one of the two brothers, starting his flying lap, yet to set a time for TG Racing. He and brother Michael can be quick on their day. Certainly we've seen top 5s from them previously, but yet to put a really strong race run together for either of them really this season. There's some other kind of dark horses in the field, you know. Rogozza's very quick on his day. Mosaidis is very quick on his day. There's a few drivers down there that can spring a surprise. And Van Bussel in P7, Butch, as well.
Yeah, that's a superb result for Drake as well. You know, they've probably struggled in the last couple of seasons. To see them in the top 10 right now is great.
Yeah, they've had kind of a mixture of drivers and fortune and so on. Here's Alex Lahou, who he did something a bit interesting on the last lap of Baku, didn't he, Butch?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can see what he's trying to do. It's such a long run down to the line at Baku that you know when you're fighting that closely, you obviously want the DRS going down the final straight, but unfortunately just sort of misjudged it a little bit and collected tyres in the process, which had pretty dire consequences for both of us, really.
You're being a bit diplomatic there. I thought it was pretty poor, really, to be honest. On the last lap, I was praising him throughout the whole race. And actually, by the way, set a purple first sector on this lap, and he's only a 1/10.5 off through the middle sector. So we know he's quick, Lahu. He just needs to keep his head half the time, I think. Maybe just a bit of it. Look at that. He's P3, and he's less than a 10th off pole, actually. It's a great lap there from Alex Lahu.
Yeah, do you know what? He's sort of come from nowhere, hasn't he? Really, you know, he's spent maybe the last year or so in the midfield, and he's doing a superb job as a reserve driver. You know, threatening the front of the grid.
I think it's one of them. On his day, he's very quick. Aha, here we go. This is more like the lap time that I was expecting from McGorgy. So he's already a couple of tenths up. Purple, really shortening the straight there as much as he possibly can. Looking for every final half a tenth, using all of the extra track on the entry to the final corner, all the way up to the wall. He's driving really, really well this season. Let's see what lap time this will be. This is going to be a big improvement from McGorgy as he comes across the line of 31.598. He's well happy with that lap. Look at him wiggling over the line. Well happy.
It's difficult to see anybody beating that, isn't it?
4 tenths. Very good.
If I'm right, I think, is that the fastest time we've seen so far? In sort of the build up to the race as well?
Yeah. That's a very quick lap time, that. No wonder he's happy. Gobby on a lap. He's only a couple of tenths off, you know. He's not that far off. I say that. He's green. So, in fact, you would expect him to improve a little bit. He'll want to get into the 31s if he can, which he's capable of on this lap, actually. Not too far off at all. And anything in the 31s would put him in P2. So let's see what he does as he crosses the line. 32.2. And look, he only moves up to P7. It's quite tight. Beyond P1, it's actually really tight, the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, so I think we're definitely going to have a fascinating race if it stays like this. I'm a bit surprised maybe to see Sandeep not up there with Owen. Obviously, you know, they've got a setup capable of that sort of pace. So, you know, I'm sure he'll sort of put in a faster lap towards the end of the session.
Yeah. Well, they have been a little bit. You say that, Chris, but they have been a little bit further apart than I would have expected myself on pace. You know, Singh has just been that half a second a lap off McGorgy, which shows how strong McGorgy is, by the way. Because Singh's a good driver in his own right. Here's Dylan Platt, who also is on his day very quick, and actually has been pretty comfortable in this car this season. You know, he's had a podium. All right, he DNF'd the first round, but he had a podium at Australia, and his other results are P6, P5. He's always there or thereabouts. Qualified P2 a couple of times, I think. So keep an eye out on Dylan Platt on this lap. He's currently in P4. And so far, so good through the first sector. Look at the car is absolutely on edge through this section. It's such a cool section of track, switching left and right. Reminds me a bit of Mexico, and it's a very fast section. Look at that purple in the first sector for Platt. Okay, coming in through the banked corner now, and through the second sector of the track. This is a good lap so far, Butch.
Sorry, I'm not looking at it at the moment because I'm being told I'm apparently quiet on the broadcast, so I'm just trying to sort that out.
Oh, no drama. Well, Platt is coming through sector 2, and he is. Look at this. So he's only a fraction down in sector 2. Okay, this could be right up there with McGorgy's time. This is the first proper challenge McGorgy's had all session. As he comes through the final DRS zone and into the final corner. He's got to nail the final corner. He is yellow in the middle sector, but only fractions. Only fractions. So let's see what Platt can do. He's come through the final corner now. He had a... Oh, Dylan! Oh, why'd you do this to me?
I think he was just pushing a little bit too hard. He had a bad exit from the chicane before, and he was probably trying to make up some time as a result of that. So...
Very frustrating. I was really hoping for a proper challenge there, and Platt did a Max Verstappen at the final corner there. Look at the way they've set their cars up on the nose. By the way, a lot of the drivers are flinging their way through these high-speed corners. They've got to have it to rotate the car, I guess, but it doesn't look very safe. Here's Michael Francesconi as he comes into the final corner now, not using as much track as McGorgy was, but nicely hits the apex, runs the car to the edge of the track. And he is set a green middle sector, so this would be an improvement, and he's bailed. So Obviously, made a small error in that final corner that we didn't quite notice. You do get a live delta on most of the overlays that you can have in rFactor 2, and it does kind of tell you whether you're up or down on the previous lap. And there's absolutely no point finishing a lap that you're going to not improve on. Dominique Korshavin coming into the final corner now. Now you see this is using the sort of full extent of the track to get a good run onto the start-finish straight. And the Team Ballast driver on an out lap, about to start probably their final run, coming into T1. P16 at the moment, but 2 seconds off. A large part of that is about how good McGorgy's lap was, not necessarily how far Dominique is actually off. McGorgy's lap, very, very good. We are yet to see the drivers come out, and the top three certainly are still in the pits. They're about to come out, you would expect, for one final go. Certainly Platt, I think, can improve. Lahoo's lap looked very good, and of course Herlock, who we haven't spoken much about, but he's in P2 actually, Chris. So he's doing a decent job.
Yeah, I mean Herlock's, he's a very sort of steady pair of hands, and he's been putting in some great results for Red Arrow, and it's nice for me to see Red Arrow up there as well, because I won my first championship in GPV with Red Arrow, and I get on well with the guys over there, so it's really nice to see them at the front of the grid.
We can't all be GPVWC champions, but it's nice to speak to someone that is.
Well, I've only got one.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Probably be your only one now, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. A bit past it now.
I know the feeling, mate, don't worry. So, Korshavin coming through the final couple of corners now. Everyone who is able to be is out on track. Some people finishing their final runs and boxing, but McGorgy, Herlock, Lahoo, Platt, they're all on outlap. Singh, Ragusa, Francesconi. Here comes Korshavin, and they improve their lap time but not their position, so it'll be P16 at best for Dominique. Here's McGorgy on his outlap then. The man I want to watch is Dylan Platt, actually. McGorgy, well, keep an eye on his sector, see if he really does. Look at how, it's right on the limit of track limits there. We're going to be talking about it today, track limits, because it is a thing. For once, it's not governed by the in-game regs, as Chris was explaining, so it is going to be a manual process, so we'll keep an eye on it as best as we can, point out obvious transgressions where they appear. So McGorgy maximising the pit straight there onto his final run. Is Platt left pit lane? Was he back in the pit lane? Back in the pit lane. Oh dear. Well, we're not going to see Dylan Platt, so we're going to see Owen McGorgy instead. Let's see Owen for one final run as he comes through the first couple of corners and into the turn 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on complex. It goes on and on and on, this section. Oh, and he's just run too wide. A win. Right, here's Alex Lahoo. Talk us through this section, Chris. It's frighteningly fast.
It is, and it's crucial to your lap time as well, because through there, it's so easy to run wide over that curb, and if you do that, it's a track's limit breach, and your lap's gone. You can't do it. Going now onto the back straight through the chicane here. Key to get a good run, because you've got a DRS zone coming up just after the chicane, so you want to carry as much speed as you can down here.
Yeah, there's three. I believe there's 3 DRS zones, correct? If I'm wrong, yes, there is. There's 3 DRS zones. Pit straight. This one we've just watched. That's going to be round. And Alex has pinned it on his final run. That is very Alex Lahoo. It was a decent lap until that point. Who have we got left? Is Gobby on a lap? Gobby's on a middling lap. He's not improving. His Ragozza. He is P12 currently. He's actually been higher than that most of the season. Coming through the final corner now. Run to the line, and he is improving. And he finishes his lap and doesn't improve his position. Actually, stays P12. That's going to be it. Actually, that is going to be the lot. I'm disappointed not to see Liam Duval here, who was in striking range of a championship challenge earlier in the season. He's not here. We've got Craig Patterson and Renko Dezeo in the Fusion cars. But we do have Gobby, Ragusa, Herlock, Lahu, and Platt, who all of which in their own right could fight with McGorgy. But it is Owen McGorgy who took pole position. Do you want to run through the grid, Butch?
Not really.
I'll
You're
do it then.
far better versed at that than I am.
Owen McGorgy takes pole for Road to Formula Racing. Joseph Herlock for Red Arrow in P2 alongside him on the grid. Alex Lahu, his teammate in P3. Dylan Platt, P4 for TR Geeks. Fabrizio Gobbi for TX3 in P5 with Michael Francesconi in P6. That's a good qualifying position for him, actually. Didn't mention him too much. Sandeep Singh in the other Road to Formula in P7. Disappointed to be 6/10 off his teammate. Ragusa, P8. Hygo Poom in P9 with Michael Ayers in 10th position. P11 for Drake is Jerry Van Bussel. Alexander Ragorza in P12 for Gallery 82. We just saw him complete his lap. PCZW's Adrian Faber is in 13th with Tom van der Voort in 14th for the other drag. Noah Tumela for G82 in 15th place. So no Damien Kardash tonight. Hi, Damien. He's on the YouTube chat. Say hello to him. Yaroslav Hayek in 16th for TTF. Lorenzo Capellini in 17th position with Dominique Korshavin in 18th. And Francesconi Christian in 19th. Sorry, Christian. Philippa Joffer in 20th position with Craig Patterson in 21st. Stavros Musaidis in 22nd. Renko Dezeo, 23rd for Fusion with Zongoli, Sovic, and Michal Galka rounding out the field. It's hard work reading out all the names, but to be fair, it is hard.
I mean, you've done a far better job than I would do. I would have butchered all of those names.
Literally. Okay, so we got warm-up now. I don't like to take breaks in warm-up. I like to talk about what happened or what's going to happen. Owen McGorgy has sent me a message. He sent me a big old list of stuff to read. Thank you, Owen. Some Superlights info on a Google spreadsheet. So I didn't want to give away lap times, but he said pole would be a 31.4 on an absolutely perfect lap, a 31.5 on a very good lap. Well, he did a 31.5, so that's a near perfect lap he described that as. And he reckons P10 would be a 32.4. So very interesting. He also said some people may try and qualify in mediums. Again, we didn't see it. So it didn't happen, but that is an interesting point, actually. This track is very, very hard on tyre wear. Specifically, I've heard, the front right tyre. So yeah, I think it's interesting that he would consider even qualifying on the mediums. That would certainly give you a big old advantage in that first stint, Chris.
Yeah, it would, and what it does show as well is that Owen's obviously thinking that tyre management's going to be a concern here. So, you know, maybe he's thinking about his approach in the race now. Does he try and build a gap to the guys behind him, or does he try and manage the tyres and try and eke them out as long as possible? You know, we'll probably find people outside the top 10 will try it. I'm not sure whether they'd go for the hardest compound because from what I've heard, it's quite hard to sort of get it switched on, and you know, there's going to be a big pace differential. So it'd be interesting to see what people choose to do anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a few different strategies available to the drivers. Anyone outside the top 10 obviously can start on whatever tyre they like. You have the mediums or the hards you could start on. I don't think we'll see many people start on the softs. They're probably only good for 10 to 15 laps max. So if they do start on the hard, they go very, very long into the race, and then they have like potentially a medium to the end. But I think it's more likely to be a two-stopper here, considering the amount of stress that the tyre goes through, particularly in that middle sector, the sort of the switchbacks you have. It's going to require extra stops, I would say.
Yeah, you know, it all depends on how people sort of take it. You know, I think if you're sort of running your own race and you're in free air, then it'll be sort of easy to manage your tyres. But you know, if you're in the battling positions, you might be working your tyres harder than you'd like. So Yeah, you know, if there's an argument to say you just go hell for leather and you know, just put the extra stop in and you know, overcome that with the pace advantage you're going to have. So yeah, there's definitely options available to people, and it's a track you can pass on as well with all the straights and DRS zones. So
yeah. Yes, it is. There's definitely slipstreaming opportunities, and of course in this championship we have push to pass as well, so the drivers each get 80 seconds to use whenever they want during the race, which is actually a lot better than it was last season. If you remember, Chris, in this championship we had a lot more than that, and it ended up being we used it to sort of the same time, the same sort of places, and on every lap. It was never really used as a tool, was it?
no, and I think that's a really positive change, because what you found last season is that everybody's, you know, they're all, you know, because you're using about 10 seconds a lap, everybody's just using it in the same place. So there's no real strategy to using it. But now you've got to be really careful about where you choose to use it. You can't use it every lap. You've definitely got to use it as a tool to overtake and defend.
That there was a genuine mistake from Singh. We were just kind of watching it in the background, but that was an interesting crash. That was a genuine mistake. I don't know. Have you got replays working tonight, Vince? Not for the race, not now. Okay. Vincent Gutt, by the way, on cams tonight in place of Shimon Frelich, who is a little busy tonight. So thank you, Vince, for coming in. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we can't actually watch a replay in warm up, but we can in the race. That's good news. Very good news. But Singh, watch it back in your own leisure on the broadcast itself. But just kind of lost the back end there through the switchback. It was a very interesting crash. Don't know if you saw it, Chris.
Yeah, uncharacteristic is what I'd call it.
Yeah, it was certainly for him. He's usually very smooth and good on tyres and that kind of thing. It looked like just the back just wanted to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, you know, with is he finding himself having to push harder than he like, and, you know, just outside of his comfort zone a little bit?
Well, Owen is a very strong driver. I suspect something along the lines of trying to keep up with someone of his caliber would be stressful enough. I certainly wouldn't want to be in that position with a teammate who's regularly thrashing me in qualifying the way that Owen has the rest of the field this season.
I can tell you from experience with Luke, it is very demoralising.
Yeah, because you can't see it all, can you? The problem is, right, if a driver's a couple of tenths faster, you're like, yeah, I can see he's done that corner slightly better, or he's better on the brakes there, or whatever. When it's like 7 tenths, it blows your mind, doesn't it? You're like, how I'm driving as best as I can. How is he 7 tenths faster than me?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Sandeep's a bit like me, and he's one of those people that, you know, really specialises in the race. In qualifying, I feel like I could put the best lap I've ever done together, and I'd be 15th on the grid. And just, I've never been very good at qualifying. But yeah, it's obviously not nice to see your teammate that far up the road on a single lap.
Well, I can't drive these cars anyway. You know, anything with downforce, no chance. I did do a race last season, FS2 at Monza, but that's minimum wings, doesn't count. when it's a downforce track of any kind, I just don't understand downforce. Basically, it's the long and short of it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You did Suzuka as well, right?
Yeah, it was terrible. Where did I finish? Like 12th and 8th? Something like that. No, I didn't even finish the second race. Got smashed up. Anyway, the less we talk about my endeavours in GPV, the better, to be honest. Okay, so 3 minutes left of warm-up. What do you think will happen today? I know what I think will happen. What do you think will happen?
Well, it's hard to say anything other than Owen's going to drive off into the distance, isn't it? I mean, he's had. To be fair, there's been a couple of races where he's been fought hard for the win. But you know, certainly last time out in Baku, he had a commanding lead over the entire field, and he just made it look easy, didn't he? So yeah, difficult to sort of see anything other than that. But I'm interested in what's going to happen for the rest of the podium. You know, the two Red Arrow guys look pretty quick. Sandeep is obviously going to be there with his tyre management, so it's going to be interesting for the sort of the rest of the top 10, I would say. But I fear that we're going to see Owen just driving away from the field.
Okay, 2 minutes and 20 seconds of warm-up left. Not too long, chaps, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get a drink or a glass of water or anything like that, we're going to have a very, very, very quick break, and then we'll be back in a minute. Hello everyone, thank you for bearing with us. Superlights has been interesting this season. We have had strategies all over the place, to be honest. Last season it was very kind of predetermined what strat you would run, but the tyres this season have been very, very well thought out by the team, the GPVWC and Robin Pansar in particular. So we have a very balanced set of tyres, and this round is no different. And we will see a variety of strategies, drivers ending up on a real range of tyres at the end of the race. And I'm looking forward to it. It's always an interesting precursor to Super League, which is on Thursdays. It's our premier division. But there's some very, very talented drivers in Superlights. Magorgi notwithstanding, who had a podium last time out at Baku in Super League as well. So plenty of talent to be seen on show today, and I think there's some guys who will be interested to move up next season into Super League. And it is kind of the finishing ground for drivers. You know, Superlights is effectively it is what it is. It's a Super League, but like a light version, and all the cars are very similar. They just have slightly less downforce, slightly less power. But in effect, they're the same car in terms of how they're built and the setups that you can use, and it's a very good place to kind of hone your talents. And it's a very important league to GPVWC as a consequence, and it's nice to see a full grid here today. Hoping Chris is with us.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lap times, because you know, the top 4 or 5 are very, very close on what would assume to be raceful. That's what people would be testing just prior to the race in warm up. And Alex Lahou actually was faster than Owen there. So I wonder if race pace might be a different story.
Very interesting point you make. I never look at warm up times. But actually, you're absolutely right. They're all within a tenth, aren't they? So maybe Owen is just a quali merchant, and we'll have an interesting race today. Let's see.
It's a good point though, because I think the Red Arrows look like they're running more wing. So perhaps they might be able to look after the tyres better, and that's going to be a crucial part of the race today.
Yes, it absolutely will be critical. Right, we're heading into the race session now. So we will be gathering the drivers on the grid, ready for the warm-up lap. They will do one warm-up lap of this track, and then we will be back to the start and finish straight. And during that time, I get another chance to read out the drivers' names, because I'm guessing Chris doesn't want to do it.
You guessed correctly.
Okay, so here they are coming onto the grid. And once again, I should say this is a brand new track to GPVWC, and Chris Williamson has done an exceptional job at building it for us. And thank you very much to Chris Williamson for all his hard work and efforts. It does not go unnoticed, certainly by me. I think a lot of people, I think he's one of those people in the background that sort of, has one of the red arrows just disappeared? There was two, now there is one. Which one disappeared? Was it Herlock?
Yeah, there's a message on the server saying he left the race just after the session started.
Oh no!
That's really unfortunate.
Can he get back in for the start?
I think
you can read the names. Read the names, everyone. By the way, you think he might be able to? That would be gutting if he can't. Considering it's right on the formation lap. I know this happened to you once before, did it not? Canada?
Do you know what? I can't remember. It happened to me in Super Cup.
Oh, was it Super Cup Canada? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Sorry, guys, I'm supposed to be reading the names out, but we lost our front row grid sitter on the formation lap. I wonder if he can get back in and start the race from the pit lane. That would be at least a salvageable thing.
I wonder if there's a bit more to it, because normally you'd see a message saying it's pending an open session, and I've not seen it reconnect yet, so there might be a bit more to it, sadly.
See, I'm not actually watching on the server. I'm just watching the live stream. So, well, that would be really gutting for him if that's the case. Qualifying P2, and he doesn't appear in the session anymore. It's just Lahu, who's really unnecessarily close to McGorgy there. That was very close to contact. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. These guys trundling around. There's actually no real reason to warm up the tyres here at Jeddah. It's nice hot track, and you don't want to burn any unnecessary soft wear out if you can help it. But yeah, we've lost Herlock, and hopefully he can rejoin. It is something that he could do, but I don't think he'll regain his position on the grid.
No, if he can rejoin, he would be forced to start from the pit lane at this point.
Yeah, nightmare. Unlucky. Right. So that means that McGorgy will have absolutely no one next to him on the grid. It will be Lahu starting P3 behind him. So should be a nice clear run down to turn 1 for McGorgy. That will take some of the pressure off his shoulders. Not that he seems to feel any this season. 3 wins out of 4. But Platt moves up to 3rd as a result. So before the race has even begun, we've had a potential retirement, I should say. And hopefully Joseph can get back in the session. So final thoughts as they line up on the grid now, Chris. What do you think is going to happen?
Do you know what? I'm gonna put something controversial. Is that the right word? Out there. I'm gonna say Alex Lahu for the win.
That is very no, you're right. It is controversial. I certainly wouldn't put money on that. We'll see what happens. Come on, Alex, prove us wrong. I always like to pick on someone before the race, and then they end up doing well. So let's make it Lahu. Right. Concentrating time. The top right of your screen, you'll see the lights come on. We'll have 5 red lights. We're missing Joseph Herlock, but McGorgy on the front row, and then behind him Lahu, and then Dylan Platt. Just waiting for all of the drivers to finally line up, and here comes the red light then for round 5 of the Superlights 2023 Championship, and we are away. And McGorgy does get a good start, and Lahu is absolutely flown off the line, and Platt's been left behind a little bit as they go into turn 1. McGorgy, virtue of Herlock's disconnection, does get a good start and does sweep into turn 1 in the lead. Further back here we've got Ayers and Singh battling away as they come into turn 3 for the first time. Not too much contact that I could see in those first couple of corners. Everyone being neat and tidy. It is a street track, and you've got to be careful when going side by side. But mostly, people seem to have got through the first few corners unscathed, which is a nice change for this championship this season. It's been some pretty average driving at best so far, but I mean, this has been a nice clean start, Chris, and let's hope it stays that way.
It has, you know, well done to everybody for getting through the first sector cleanly. It's difficult when you're in a pack of 25 cars to try and sort of thread the eye of the needle, and you know, you're trying to make up positions, and you know, you've got the walls really close to the track. You know, it's really difficult, and so fantastic job to everybody.
Is here being attacked by Alexander Ragosa as they head into the final few corners of the lap. We're already going to fly through the first lap. This is going to be a fast race, everybody. It's a high average speed around the circuit. But McGorgy leads by over a second from Lahoo, and he is absolutely put the hammer down. I suspect he's used some push to pass to get outside of DRS, and he has absolutely done that. Here's Hygo Poom. He's lining up behind Michael Francesconi, trying to make a position up at early doors here, and he's going side by side in the TR Geeks alongside the TG into the first corner. He's trying to sweep around the outside. Francesconi has the line, and he holds him off for now.
Fantastic racing there, and what we missed, unfortunately, I think Gobby just went around the outside of Platt at turn 1 as well, just outbraked him and managed to make it stick around the outside, so that's Platt down into 4th.
Actually, Gobby is one of those drivers that could definitely spring a surprise. We've seen Zongoli running a little bit wide there, but he's definitely got the pace to challenge. I don't know if he's quite put the laps in, you know, that the other drivers maybe have done this season, but certainly on his day couldn't fight. Here's Poom again, and he is once again behind Francesconi. The end of this lap, so i.e. the beginning of the next lap, we will see the first use of DRS, and that will be a nice little tool the drivers can use to either stay with the car in front or actually attack them and overtake. And it is very well simulated in GPVWC, and it's actually a really useful tool for both attacking and defending. Here comes Poom coming into the final couple of corners now. He'll want to get a good run down the pit straight, Chris.
He will, and I think he's going to get it. You know, he's taken a wide line and trying for the cut back there. I'm not sure that's going to work, but he's right under the rear wing of Francesconi now.
Yeah, there's some push to pass at play here as they go side by side down the pit straight. A couple of sparks flying with the cars as low as possible for that ground effect in this season, and Poom does take the position down into T1. That was nice and easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, he made it look really easy, and then, like you say, probably some push to pass at play. Maybe Francesconi's sort of conserving that for later on in the race. You know, he might be looking to go long on those tyres and you know, really attack later on. So we'll see how that plays out.
Very early doors, but it looks like McGorky's just absolutely put the hammer down and got as far away as possible from Lahoo in these first couple of laps, trying to get outside that DRS. It'd be interesting to see what strategy he's on, if he's going to go on a 2-stop or if he's just trying to get outside DRS in those first couple of laps. We'll keep an eye on that because we saw in warm-up, you pointed out, Chris, the lap times were actually very close, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, but you know, maybe people flattering themselves with push to pass. I'm not really sure, because Lahoo right now is you know, he's nearly a second a lap slower than Owen. So yeah, it's difficult to see what's really going on because we're not sat in the cars. But yeah, it could be just that Owen maybe was hiding his cards a little bit, or whether people were using DRS and push to pass and things like that in warm-up. So I'm sure we'll find out over the course of the next 38 laps.
Michael Iwers and Sandeep Singh have been extremely close all season long. A little tag on the wall from Van Bussel there. Now, how important is damage to your lap time in these cars?
Oh, it's you know, if you get a little bit of damage, then it's catastrophic to your lap time, because it does two things. Say you get some suspension damage, then you know you're steering slightly out of alignment. You've got more tyre wear. The cars are generally harder to drive. And if you know, if the suspension's out of alignment as well, then you know, it misses your brake and your top speed. Yeah. So you know, it's really important to and I know it sounds obvious, but not get those little taps on the wall, because it the damage does build up, and it will ultimately cost you in the long run.
Alex Lahu has been overtaken by Gobby. I think Van Bussel probably didn't hit the wall very hard there. He probably didn't damage his suspension too much, but certainly something to keep an eye on. But Lahu has been overtaken by Fabrizio Gobby here, and I think there's different strategies going on. Lahu did not look that slow, just in warm-ups, in the warm-up session. So potentially Gobby just wants to get on with it. Track down Magorgi if he can. Maybe he thinks Magorgi's pushed too hard too soon. We will see. Time will tell. I mean, of course, Magorgi did have that 4/10 advantage in qualifying, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. It's the sort of pace advantage that sort of makes you think, he can sort of do whatever he wants, isn't it? He can afford to push hard because he can afford the extra pit stop, or he can just manage his pace when he needs to. So. Yeah, we'll see. He definitely has put the hammer down, though, so it will be interesting to see whether that will come back to bite him later on.
Here comes Singh up the inside of Michael Francesconi, who's lost a couple of positions now, and we have a Fusion exiting the pit lane. That's Remco Dezeo, who's gone a lap down, so he must have picked up some damage somewhere. Kudos to him for carrying on. He may well pick up some points in this race. This is going to be a hard, long race in terms of damage and attrition. I'd imagine this is close proximity to the walls. We've got these endless street tracks, it seems, at the start of the season. You do get kind of a whittled down field as you go through the race. But Singh overtaking Francesconi for P7. He's got Hygo Poom up the road from him now, Chris.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting as well is Gobby's got through and he's now matching Owen's pace. So do you think Gobby could be in the fight for the win?
Well, I don't see why not. I mean, he's only 3 seconds. I say only 3 seconds back at the moment. If he's matching Magorgi at this point, but maybe Magorgi did push a bit too hard those opening couple of laps. It is something that you have to be careful of the tyre life here. You've got to make sure you don't take away too much percent from them early on in the race, and that could well be what Magorgi's done. Well, time will tell. It could also be that he's pacing himself as Bragosa throws it up the inside of Van Bussel, but doesn't really commit to any kind of move, and if anything, just compromises exit there.
Ayers on who's that?
Francesconi. Yeah. So Francesconi blocked him on the inside. That was kind of close to being a 50-50, that one.
Yeah, it looked on the limit, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to see that one again if we can. Mr. Gutt, please. Bitte schön. But if we can't, then we can't. But Ayers certainly seemed to be blocked off by Francesconi there, Butch.
Yeah, he did. And you can't make those moves so late towards the braking zone because it's dangerous. People are preparing to hit the brakes, and if you make a move like that, at the wrong time, then somebody's just going to drive straight into the back of you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to kind of be predictable in your moves in the braking zone. But Ayers survives, as does Francesconi, and they will go again for another lap after this. You're right, by the way, about Gobby. Definitely matching Magorgi. So there's no extension of that gap right now. And Lahu, oh my goodness, that was almost certain he was going to hit the wall then. That was so close. He understeered right up to the edge of it, but got away with it.
Has something happened there? Because I'm sure Ragusa was ahead of Lahu at one point.
So, was he? Gobby certainly got ahead of Lahu. If Ragusa got ahead as well, I missed that one entirely. But certainly Lahu looked like he was, for all the world, going to stick his front left into the concrete wall. Here we go, round 2 then. So we got Singh in front of Francesconi, who's lining him up now, and sends it. This is going to be contact. Oh, they were so close then. Well driven, the pair of them, actually. That was millimeters. Francesconi still fancies a go as they come towards T3. There's not really an overtaking opportunity there, but that was great driving.
Yeah, and I think Francesconi, he just needs to be decisive. The problem he's got is that Sandeep's got really good straight line speed, and he's got Ayers just behind him as well. So if you know, if Francesconi takes too long about this, then he's going to find himself having to defend from Ayers rather than attacking Singh.
Yeah, well, that's definitely what's about to happen. Singh's kind of got a couple of tenths in that first sector, almost every lap actually. So the last lap, by the way, from Gobby was 2 tenths faster than McGorgy. That doesn't sound like very much, but if there is a swing in tyre wear, if there is a little bit of a swing towards the TX3 driver's favour, and he is running, I believe he's running a bit more downforce as well, which could help his tyre wear. Let's have a quick look. So Gobby, yeah, he is. He's running slightly more downforce than McGorgy, so be interesting to see that one play out.
Yeah, and you know, if that carries on in 5 laps' time, that brings him into DRS range as well. So
yeah, it does, and that would really change the way the race kind of pans out. So Francesconi defending into the final corner here. This is going to compromise his run down the pit straight as Ayers lines Francesconi up, and this time they do all have DRS, but this time it's Francesconi not as close. Do you know what? Ayers just doesn't have the straight line speed, does he? He does not have the straight line speed. Not close enough. Go on, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is that a combination of Sandeep's good top speed anyway, and then you've got Francesconi with DRS himself as well. You know, so you've got a sort of, when you're running lower wings, the effect becomes diminished almost.
Look at these two, Joffe and Van der Voort going side by side through the first complex, and that one is Van der Voort, who's going to be in the wall. Has he got his front tyre? He has. He's got no wings. Right, this is where you've got to crawl back to the pit line, stay off the racing line. So that's what LeHou looked like. Oh, that car looks dodgy. Tom, what have you done?
He needs to get off the racing line because his car's coming through.
Well, he's still there on the racing line. Run a bit wide, please. Please, thank you. Well done, Tom. Actually, that was not too bad in the end. That's Silver Joffe, isn't it? Of course, that's Joffe who's dropping back. I'm blind. So sorry, but that's Silver dropping back and putting it in the wall. So yes, 2 red cars, and one of them's come a cropper. Here's LeHou. He's caught back up to Gobby. Look. And in fact, he's going to just use DRS to stay in touch, if he can. And Gobby is definitely closing on McGorgy. Definitely. This is interesting. There's another... Okay, so the last lap he lost a couple of tenths, actually, Gobby, but he's definitely closing generally, if you look at their lap times comparatively. So maybe McGorgy just eked out a little bit in that middle sector that lap. But really... there's a long way to go, but these two are matching each other on pace. It looks like McGorgy used perhaps he used push to pass Butch to get out of DRS in that first couple of laps.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, it's definitely worth doing that, because if you can escape the DRS, then you know you're not giving other people the boost for free, are you? So yeah, I think LeHou as well maybe was just protecting his tyres at the start of the race, because he's come right back at Gobby.
That'd be very un-Alex LeHou to look after his tyres earlier on in the race and try and come back at someone, but if that is the case, then well done, Alex. Further back, we've got Dominique Corchavin and Lorenzo Capolini here fighting away, and just behind them, who is just behind them? That's okay. So that must be Remco De Zeo, right? He's a lap down, yeah. So Remco's or is it Craig or Remco? Vincent's in my ear. It is Remco. Okay, thank you, Vincent. So Remco De Zeo is a lap down, but he's still pressing on. Do you know what? I think that's commendable to be doing that. Here we go. So Gobby's pushed his tyres too hard now. LeHou is caught right back up to him in DRS. This has been a poor lap from Gobby, actually. He ran wide in the first sector. LeHou flies back down the inside and retakes P2, and it's a nice overtaking opportunity, that using the DRS, and so he moves back in front of Gobby, who lost 7 tenths on that, by the way, from that mistake.
Yeah, and I'm just, like you say, I wonder if his tyres are going off, because this is about the sort of time we were expecting soft runners to start thinking about pit stops.
Yeah, neither of these are actually driving particularly cleanly right now. LeHou just ran wide and had to block off Gobby there. So yeah, maybe lap 10 is all the tyres can do, which is certainly a possibility. Let's have a little look at this replay. So this is, we're watching Remco here. and he's diving down the inside, unlapping himself, and causing contact, and that was
Be interesting
not
to see
ideal.
that on board.
And he's giving up. Okay, I just said it was commendable. Sorry, Chris.
I was just saying it'd be interesting to see that from on board if we can, because it's difficult to tell from that angle whether he was closed down. I don't think we're going to get the replay, unfortunately, but it's difficult to tell from that angle whether he was closed down or. But you know, it's difficult as a lap driver because obviously you want to try and make progress back through the field.
Yeah.
But obviously those ahead of you don't really want to let you through either. So, you know, I think maybe a bit of forward thinking from those around him would help as well, because you know they're not fighting him at the end of the day, so it might just be prudent to let him through. But you know, it's one of those things.
Absolutely. By the way, here comes Gobi back on the inside of Lahoo. So all that's happening here is they're costing themselves position. So Ragusa pits. He's the first person of the front runners to pit. The undercut is powerful. It is very powerful, apparently. So we will be interested to see where he comes out and on what tyre. So if we can have a little look at what Ragusa's come out on, that'd be wonderful. He obviously started on softs, and he's come out. Yeah, he's come out on medium tyres according to Race View. So that looks like a two-stop. It's surely going to be a two-stop from there. 11, 15, and 15, something like that. So so absolutely bang on a two-stop actually. So yeah. Two-stop for Ragusa, and with a bit of an undercut, he's going to try and make some inroads on these guys that we're watching on screen now.
Owen McGorgy's out of the race.
What happened? What happened? Please don't be a disconnect, because he was struggling with internet pre-season, and it's the worst possible thing. It's going to be, isn't it?
Especially when you're that far in the lead, you know.
It is metronomic. He's been metronomic all season. There's no way it was going to be a mistake. I am gutted for Owen, because that is the worst possible thing. And he said he had internet troubles. Okay, this blows the entire race open, because McGorgy was absolutely imperious out front. What a nightmare for Owen McGorgy, but it opens the race up for us. Now they all come piling in. I reckon Ragusa's going to blow past these guys. I reckon he's going to undercut them all.
Yeah, I agree. These two have been costing themselves 2 seconds a lap battling like this, so you know the damage might already be done.
Well, let's see. Let's see. Where is Ragusa on track? He's coming down. Okay, so he's coming into the straight now. Oh, look at this!
Side by side in the
side by
exit.
side. Okay, so who's going to have to back off that one? Here comes Ragusa, by the way, and I believe he's got them. I think he's got them. Yeah, he has. Look at that. Yeah, so there we go. Ragusa with that undercut. Now, you know, on paper, leads the race. You know, net leader is Giuseppe Ragusa. Is the only other person to take a race win this season. Suddenly, TX3 have 1 and 2.
That is really a turn up for the books, isn't it? And you know, I feel so sorry for Owen, because it's look at his performance so far in the race, and something totally outside of his control has taken that away from him. But it's good for us as commentators and spectators, because we're going to have a cracking race.
Oh, it's good for the neutral, but absolutely gutted for Owen. Like genuinely, there's not. I would never wish that on anyone. A disconnection. It's not fun. It's not fair. There's nothing you can do about it. Or well, I mean, if there is, you know, whatever. But it's not like it's necessarily in your control. And he genuinely had this issue pre-season. He was saying, like, I don't know if I'm going to finish a race, and then proceeded to win 3 of the last 4 DNF today. And I'm really sorry for you, Owen. Genuinely, I think you should rejoin if you can. See if you can get some points. That is not an overtaking opportunity. Oh my goodness! Is that Van Bussel in the wall? It is. Van Bussel in the wall there. So Ayres is pitting. Van Bussel stays out. So, and Sandeep Singh's in the pits as well. So, and so is Faber. So we're going to see Ragusa take the lead here with Gobi right behind him. It's a 4-car train for the win now. So now it's... Okay, now your Lahoo prediction looks a bit more viable, Chris.
Not so silly now.
No. It's like you had a magic wand. Or what are they called? Those magic crystal balls, thank you. Why can't I think of that? My head's fried.
So if I was TX3 now, you'd be working together to try and pull a gap, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be fighting each other.
You'd think. I would say, Chris, and you may not have seen this, but they double stacked at Bahrain, and for no reason whatsoever, Gobby just followed Ragusa into the pit lane and cost himself 5 seconds. Or best part of. So hopefully they're communicating now, but you never know. We'll soon find out, won't we? I mean, you know, they're both Italian. You'd expect them to both be able to communicate with one another, but yes, they pitted the line astern at Bahrain, and Gobby cost himself a chance of the victory there. So we'll see. Dylan Platt is a dark horse, by the way. Go on.
I was going to say, what tyres did Sandeep come out on? I think he's out on the medium, so he's locked himself into a 2-stop there, and you know, I expected him to go a little bit further in the first stint.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we've got some hard runners. Some Alexander Ragosa's gone hard. Francesconi's gone hard. Christian. Oh no, sorry, he started on the hards, of course, didn't he? Adrian Fabo's now on the hard tyres. No one's gone soft. But the top 9, they've all gone medium, so they must be going medium. Here's Platt's lining up Lahoo, by the way. He's absolutely in his slipstream. He's going to send it down into T1. Side by side they go. Lahoo's nearly lost under braking. Still side by side. There's going to be contact that isn't well driven. Fantastic driving, actually, in the end. They were millimetre perfect. And Lahoo loses out to Platt, and he suddenly is galvanised into staring a race victory in the face.
Yeah, I was wincing then. I really thought those two were going to come together and it was just going to end in tears. But yeah, fantastic driving, and you know, it's yeah, Platt must be smelling blood right now.
Absolutely, and of course he's got 1 lap better tyre than, or in fact 2 lap better tyre than Ragusa, because we were too busy looking at McGorgy's DNF. But he's got 2 laps worse tyres, Ragusa. So the undercut got him the track position, but now he's not going to have the tyre life. So the track position's powerful, but will it pay him back at the end of the race? This is the trade-off, and it's always the engineer's conundrum. Do you want to extend that stint, or do you want to box them early? And there isn't really a right answer. It depends, is the answer. But now, if you're TX3, if they have an engineer, you've got to let Gobby go through here. Really, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that he's the faster of the 2 drivers, and just if they're battling each other, it's happening here now, isn't it? Yeah, that's the right call, I think, because if you're just battling each other, you're just costing yourself time, and then all of a sudden you find any chance you had of winning just disappear.
Well, here comes Platt now, and he's going to be, so the straight line speed is not there for Dylan. It isn't there, is it? He's running higher wings. Lahoo is coming up the inside. He's sent it back on Platt. Platt going around the outside. Oh, that would look like there was a bit of contact there with Ragusa, but he's got away with it. And Platt knows now he kind of has to get by. He's weaving around. He doesn't like Lahoo. Well, I don't know if he liked him or not. That's not really for me to say, but he didn't like him sending it down the inside there into T1. So Platt holds on to 3rd place, and he's right behind Ragusa, Chris.
Yeah, he is. It's so difficult to call, isn't it?
Yep, definitely. So it's the hardest thing to do is to call who's going to come out on top here. Oh, Van Bussel. Tell you what I can call. This man is sideways everywhere. Van Bussel just looks like he's going to put it in the wall at some point. He already has made some contact with the wall. He's going around the outside of Mercedes. That was easy, actually. I think differing strategies there. But Van Bussel, kind of another one who's fast and worrying. But he's there in P11 for drag, so doing a great job. So let's have a little look at that P3, P4 battle again, because they are right on the back of each other coming into the final sector. Platt doesn't have the straight line. I'm just looking there, qualifying numbers. He just doesn't have it.
No, look, and now Gobby's leading this train. Look, they're starting to space out a little bit, so Gobby can sort of drag Ragusa along with him, and that's just going to make it even harder for Platt. You know, and I think if he's lacking that straight line speed, he's going to be vulnerable to Lahoo again.
So yes, he will be. By the way, you're absolutely right. Here's the numbers from qualifying. So Platt 3:05 top speed. You can only really look at qualifying, by the way, because there's no slipstream, there's no push to pass. So 3:05 kilometers an hour for Dylan Platt, 3:09 for Lahoo, Gobby 3:12, and then Ragusa 3:14. So they've got almost 10k on Platt. You know, Ragusa anyway has got almost 10k on Platt. Interesting, they're running slightly different setups as well, the TX3 chaps.
But look how much Platt has closed in this first sector. You know, if he's running more wing, then that might pay back later on in the stint with better tyre wear.
Yeah, that's definitely something to. And he's P3 right now, so it's clearly not harming his overall race pace. It's just harming his current track position a little. He might just have to full send, push to pass one lap, or bide his time, wait for the tyres to get better. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, if I was in their position now, I'd be considering an undercut at the next stint because he can, you know, with a clear track, take advantage of the pace advantage that higher wing should give him. Because right now, he's sort of through the corners, he's stuck in the dirty air, and then down the straight, he just hasn't got the speed to compete. So he's going to find it really difficult to make a pass here. And in fact, also coming under pressure from now.
Yeah. See, what he can't do is fall outside the DRS, which I don't think he's going to. There's the other school of thought, Chris, which is where he extends the stint and has even better tyres in that final stint with a massive offset. That means then he could stick really tight with them, catch them up and then stick really tight with them through the lap and maybe get a benefit of a big slipstream.
He could do that, but like we said, he just doesn't have the straight line speed. So when he eventually catches them in the corners, you can't pass in corners at this track. It's all in braking zones and DRS, and I just don't think he's going to be able to take advantage of his car doing that.
They're not having a good race, the Fusion chaps, are they? Craig Patterson is unfortunately in the wall. Did he retire after that? Oh dear. There they are, both of them lined astern in the pit lane. That's a shame for the Fusion team. It's a shame that Liam Duval isn't here, and it's a shame for both of them that they DNF'd. Looked like kind of both of their own fault, really, which is a shame.
You know, we're not even halfway through the race, and we've had 5 DNFs and a did not start as well. You know, so it definitely is a race of attrition. And you know, if you can, even if you're a lap or two down, if you can keep going, you've still got a chance of points here.
Absolutely. You've got to stick around if you can. There's no real point if you're a couple of laps down. And your car's undrivable, you might as well save the engines. Of course, they only have 6 engines to use for the whole season, which is enough, by the way. Each engine kind of uses a third of its life at each track, and there's 16 rounds, so you do have enough engine to last you the whole season. But it's nice to save them and have like kind of more power at a later round. Look how much Platt loses in a straight line. It's mad.
Look how much he's gained on the brakes for turn 1 as well.
This is going to be a 4-way battle to the end. If I'm one of them, I'm doing something silly. I'm going to box early and put hards on or something and try and get an undercut. I'm surprised no one's actually put hards on and kind of pushed them. They've all gone mediums, which is very interesting. But we do see this in Superlights. Here's Korshavin moving up past Zongoli, and these are kind of fighting for the scraps at the well, in fact they aren't yet in the points, but Van der Voort up the road is in the points, and here comes, oh my god, look at the straight line difference there. Zongoli absolutely in fact he's outbraked himself in T1 and through goes Korshavin again. That was a full send, push to pass, DRS, everything.
you love to see it, but yeah, it didn't work out for him on that occasion.
Driving a different track, he was halfway in Bahrain there. So here comes Lahu once again, and he is closed up to Platt this lap. It swings and roundabouts, isn't it? The ebb and flow of this top 4 is very interesting, and they will continue to do that through the rest of the stint. And it's who blinks and when. So we're expecting. So they pitted on. Okay, so they pitted on lap 11. So you expect them to pit what? Lap 26 would be exactly halfway, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So if I'm Ragusa, he's got 2 laps worse tyre. Try and hang on to that DRS at Gobby, and then maybe try and get a 1 lap undercut this time, not a 2 lap.
He's going to have a go at Platt here. Oh no, he backed out.
Yeah, well, I think he knows that Platt's quicker in sector 1, right? So all he's going to do is end up dropping back off TX3. Well, I mean, maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he just was too far back. But that's the thought process I'd be going through. Here's Faber now on Van Bussel. Van Bussel didn't give him a great deal of room there. Very close, but Faber makes his way through regardless. Van Bussel squeezed him hard then. That was brave stuff. But through goes Faber. No harm, no foul, no contact. And in the end, pretty good racing to watch. But Yeah, see, Lahoo's dropped off the back of Platt through the higher downforce requirements of the lap. It's interesting, isn't it, how different the setups are, and yet they're sort of matching the same lap time. It reminds me of Baku also, where you can do that with the different wing levels, Chris. And I don't know what your preference would be, really. I would rather have the straight line speed, I think.
See, I raced FS2 in these cars, Jeddah, sorry, and I personally preferred the higher wings because I just felt that the overall race time was better, and you could kind of make up for your deficit by being really close to the car in front. But it's more difficult to follow closely in these cars, even though there's more aero from ground effects now. You know, it is still difficult to follow, and I've been watching Alex Lahoo for a few laps now, and in the first sector he really struggles to stay with Platt as he's alongside him now down the pit straight. Yeah,
here we go. This time he's going to blow past him into T1. Lahoo moves up to P3. Now, how are your tyres, everyone? How are your tyres? Who's got the tyre where? Who can attack? Got Platt here on board as we go through the first sector. This will be interesting to stay on board with Platt because he's got higher downforce. So does this pay him back? Even in dirty air, does he catch back up to Lahoo? And look at the way that the momentum shifts. Platt's car looks understeery, doesn't it? Those front tyres are taking a big old beating through that first sector.
Yeah, they are, and I think that's just a symptom of the dirty air, to be honest. You know, we know he's got a car that's very quick in the first sector, but now he's not getting clean air over the wings and what have you. His car's not working as well as it should be, and you can see Lahoo now we're on the straights. He's starting to pull a bit of a gap. So Platt needs to sort of dig deep and really try and keep close to Lahoo, because otherwise he's going to find himself dropping away from the leading trio.
Well, Lahoo's outside of DRS according to the fact that his wings are not open. So this was the fear. This is what I thought might happen. You know, Lahoo's just going to drop back of DRS. It's going to be the TX3 cars gapping them. He's going to have to try and get back into DRS if he can. He's still outside Alex Lahoo, but can he get it for the final corner? Because he has got that straight line advantage a little bit. The problem is, of course, Ragusa in front of him is getting DRS off Gobby. So every time that they go into a DRS straight, he's going to lose out. And he's going to need to push hard now to stay at least somewhat in touch. He's 1 point, how far back is he at the line? Yeah, 1.4 back at the line. So that overtaking move, Chris, he's pushed him back. Go on.
Yeah, it has. You know, in hindsight, it was probably not the right thing to do, because he's you know, he says he's dropped out of DRS now. If I was Lahoo, this is the time that he wants to be using his push to pass to try and close that gap. But it's just whether he's safe enough to do that.
Oh, come on. What are you pushing him for? That's okay. Well, it worked out, but I mean, that was pretty rubbish driving from the pair of them. Oh my God. Jerry's a bit all over the place, isn't he? Bless him. Pushing around there. I think, is that Faber with him? Who is that? Is that Faber? Sorry, I've lost. No. Who is it? Vince, help. Who's that with him? I don't know. Very helpful, thanks. Battle for 23rd, Owen McGorgy. That's a shame to look at that particular thing. Let's get off that. That's Faber there. Yeah, it was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because this is Van Bus. Hello?
What is he doing?
Did we get a little grumpy there, Adrian? And just pin it in the wall? Because if so, that's very poor. I mean, Van Bussel was, you know, pinched him at T1. Faber kind of pushed him round again, which is kind of odd. And then Faber's just driven straight into the wall and is now DNF'd.
You know, I think, if I'm right in thinking, I think Faber was a lap down at that point. He shouldn't be getting himself involved in things like that.
Well, exactly. Lead change. Gobby is now P2, and Ragusa is back into the lead. So
that's brought Lahoo right back into the mix.
Why have they done that? Because Ragusa clearly has, well, unless Gobby has really destroyed his tyres for whatever reason on this particular stint, which doesn't make any sense because he had clean air and no dirty air and 2 laps fresher tyres than Ragusa, and they've got very similar kind of low wing level. Okay, this brings, you're absolutely right, Lahoo's right there now. What's going on?
You know, and Hygo Poom's not very far away either. You know, Hygo is pretty good on his tyres himself. You know, he don't count Hygo out for the win either.
You could have a 5-car battle for the win. We definitely could, and especially if one of them just does something weird with strategy. You know, Poom, for example, undercutting, trying to get in amongst these guys and maybe going onto hards and then right at the end of it, because their times have dropped away, by the way, as well. So at the start of the stint, they were doing 36 threes, and now they're in the mid 37s. So they've lost a second a lap in pace. You'd say the hards probably would be more consistent pace-wise, right? I mean, perhaps not the ultimate pace, but maybe they would be doing low 37s now. I'd be sticking a set of hards on for the final stint and just gambling to see what would happen if I was in, say, Platt's position here.
Yeah, the problem is, does it cost you too much track position in the beginning of the stint?
Oh my goodness, I thought they were going to collide. That was so close under braking there from Gobby. He got right under the rear wing of Raguzza, and of course they are teammates, so you wouldn't want any kind of contact. It's going to be 5 cars, you know. It is going to be 5 cars at some point. Poom's doing decent lap times. He's quicker than Gobby on that last lap.
Could we see Sandeep in the mix as well? I mean, Sandeep's lapping quicker than Poom at the moment.
I think he's 5 seconds back of him though. That's the issue. He's almost 10 seconds off the lead. You can't see it, you have to do the maths, but he's almost 5 seconds back of Poom. He could be, definitely. Especially if he kind of looks after his tyres well. I'm just looking at the lap times of the hard runners. You know, Van Bussel, who's in P10, he's in low 37s. You know, if that's one of the front runners, could they even be still in the 36s? Which the Who, Slipstream and who you'd say pushed to pass, insisted just did a 36, by the way. It's interesting.
It feels like you're getting towards the crossover point, doesn't it? And, you know, remember, you know, these guys are on 14 lap old tyres now at the end of this lap, so.
Yeah, true. You know, what is the tyre life of those mediums? Is it 12, 15, 17, something like that sort of range?
You know, they're probably only 2 or 3 laps away from a pit stop, so.
I reckon the hards could go to the end from here as well. And in fact, so does Owen, based on his very, very nice little cheat sheet that he sent me over. So if that's the case, then I'd be gambling. I would be gambling and trying to get a little bit of an undercut and seeing if I can get outside of DRS. Maybe using the hards at the end. Certainly an interesting option. But it is the option. I think the standard thing would be to just stick to your strat. You know, everyone else is going to be on the same sort of thing. Okay. Interesting. We've definitely got a race on our hands, and that is exciting. Who's going to win though, Chris?
Alex the Who. I'm going to stick with that.
Wow.
I'm going to die on that hill.
Okay. I'm not going to die on that hill, bless him, Alex. But I'm going to say from this position, considering Raguzza's has overtaken Gobby again and is a previous race winner and is currently in the lead. Now I think he's the one to beat, but we will see. I mean, strange things have happened in Superlights so far this season. We've had last lap shenanigans from back markers. You never know, that could happen again. Hopefully not, by the way. Please do not let that happen. If that happens again, my head will explode. It nearly did at Bahrain. But hopefully we get a nice clean race to the end from here. So, and look at the DRS. The DRS makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It does. Do you know what? I'm actually surprised how powerful it is around here. Because you expect wing levels to be a little bit lower than than a track maybe like Australia or something like that. So when you've got lower downforce, there's obviously less drag for the DRS system to get rid of. But it does seem to be working really well here.
I think it's the higher levels of downforce makes the difference. Because I think the higher level of downforce you have, the more powerful the DRS opening is, if you see what I mean. Because you've got a bigger wing, effectively. Here's Van der Voort and Tuomela, who is standing in for Damien Kardash this round, and they're going side by side. And through goes Tuomela, very good. And I don't know if he might have actually stolen DRS as well. No, he didn't.
See, he's just going to lose the place again here now. I would have probably held back a little bit there.
I don't think it's a good position to overtake into that final corner. Like, oh, goodness. I fear for the camera angle is deceiving, isn't it? It looks like they're going to smash into each other each time into T1. Tuamela and they survive. Anyway, Tuamela and Panther Ford.
Look how
Plat's dropped back.
maximising the track there. By
Yeah, I know.
as far over to the left as he can get.
Yeah, he's been pushing quite hard this stint, I would say. I think he's probably running a little bit too much downforce, you know. It doesn't look like he can, like here, for example, he's just not there, is he? And he's going to drop out of DRS.
The DRS is wide open, but he's just not gaining any ground.
Look at this. Lahu is literally right there, isn't he, this lap? And he's got very good straight line as well. He's kind of got the same kind of level as the TX guys in front. He's best off saving push to pass. Gobby looks like he wants to take Ragusa again. Are they fighting? Wow.
I don't know. That's not what I would be doing in their position.
No, and this is giving an opportunity to Lahu now, so he's trying to get through. This is actually his opportunity, this lap, I would say, because this is kind of, they're all either going to box this lap or next, I would say. And it looks like Ragusa's tyres are kind of on that cliff. And please tell me that Gobby's going to not box behind Ragusa. Please, come on. Think about it this time. You know what happened at Bahrain. So Ragusa's going to, I would say Ragusa pits this lap. Now, if you're Lahu and you're Platt, I think if you're Platt, you stay out, and I think if you're Lahu, you dive in. That's what I would be doing. Lahu has to do the exact same thing as Ragusa this lap, and I think Platt has to stay out and use the DRS of Gobby for one extra lap. That's so sideways, Alex. My goodness.
Yeah, he's been pushing those tyres hard, hasn't he? And you know, Lahu's done 2 less laps than Ragusa has on these, so. You know, if can he go 2 laps further and then take advantage right at the end, or is that just going to cost him too much time?
Yes. One of those 2 things.
But look how much time that slide is costing.
Yeah, I know, and it's now we see who pits. You say that he's right on the back as they go through the final corner now. The Constantina effect really kind of closing them up. So here we go. So, okay, so where's Platt? Has Platt stayed out? I called it. That's the correct thing to do, chaps. So here we go. So now it's about Lahu. Can he come out with Ragusa ahead of Gobby? And can Platt use this extra tyre, do a couple more laps because he was in P4 anyway, and have that tyre advantage towards the end? Here we go. Lahu's ahead. Lahu's ahead this time.
So that could be Lahu in the net lead.
That was so tight on pit exit, Alex. I hope you didn't cut there. That was so tight. But nevertheless, he does make his way through past Giuseppe Ragusa and into net lead. Now, with the tyres, he's got to not take too much life out of them. He knows that Platt's going to potentially that kind of have that better tyre life with a higher downforce. Platt, I think, should stay out an extra lap now. He's got nothing to lose. He's going to come out in P4 anyway. So I think Platt stays out an extra lap, and that's his best chance. But Gobby has to box. Gobby has to box this lap to minimise the damage. So that's what I would do, engineering both of those. So Gobby has to box this lap, Platt stay out an extra lap. And that way you could use that extra tyre life, maybe fight your way back through at the end. 2-lap offset. Look what's happened to the Ragusa thing. You know, he's caught him and he could overtake him here. Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? Here we come onto the pit straight.
I just want to point out that Sandeep is a lot faster than the 2 in front of him at the moment as well. So it's not over for Singh yet.
I should be an engineer, Chris.
You're not too bad at it.
That stays out. So okay, so Gobby's in. So now where does Gobby come out as Ragusa and Poom? I don't know if they interchanged positions there, but where's Ragusa on track? And where's Gobby on track?
Lahu's already through.
Ragusa.
Gobby's only just crossed the limit line, so he's.
Yeah, this is it. So yeah, so the undercut has got these 2 ahead. Look, he's got these 2 ahead. Lahu is in the net lead of the race, but it is not over by any stretch of the imagination. It is not over. Chris, Lahu might win this, you know.
I'm just going to say it right now. I called it.
There's no way. At the start of the race, I was like, no chance. But do you know what? He's played a blinder strategy-wise. Look at the gap he's got as well. Do you know what? This is wise. Use your push to pass. Get as much of a gap as you can. Stay out of DRS. And he is just about outside, is he not?
He is.
I think he is.
I don't know why he's so surprised. You know, he was in the fight for a podium at Baku. I mean, we know how that ended, but it does show that he does have some underlying pace there.
Well, it's very fast, Alex. There's no denying that whatsoever. It's whether his head's screwed on the day. But there we go. What have we got here? Scott Sovic, who I think is a last-minute driver for Team Balash. I suspect we're going to see. Okay.
Did he clip the wall on the inside there?
No. It looked like his controller just stopped working. Whatever.
Oh.
For screen freeze.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. That doesn't look like a controller disconnect to me, because when that happens, your inputs normally go to maximum.
Let's put it down to technical difficulties. Right, so presumably Platt's in and will come out probably 3 or 4 seconds back of these guys. But that's not the end of the world. He has 12 laps to slowly catch a monkey. And Hygo Poom, look, is going to drag him on for at least a lap, give him some DRS. He's not far behind at all. Look, he's 2.5 seconds behind. Platt's my dark horse for this one. That tyre offset is going to matter at the end of the race. He's going to be able to push harder than these guys, and obviously Lahoo and Gobby obviously were pushing very hard when they boxed. So Ragusa, sorry, boxed when they boxed. They pushed very hard. So yeah, Platt could easily have Platt could easily have the offset here.
Yeah, and look how the two TX3 cars have caught straight back up to Lahoo, by the way. It's I don't know if Alex made a mistake, but he seemed to have a big gap, and then all of a sudden they've just caught right back up. So
could be little tiny micro mistakes. I mean, it's very nerve-wracking leading a race, especially in a series you've not led a race for before. I don't know about you, but it's always like a bit of butterflies, and you can easily make a couple of mistakes, and just got to focus down, hit your lines, pretend you're not leading, just pretend you're doing hot laps like you did in practice. But Lahoo does look like he's going to be under pressure here from Ragusa.
And if he's battled, you know, Poom's not far away at all now. He's very close to getting the DRS off of Gobby, so he's going to be right in that, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race as well.
And Ragusa takes the lead. So Ragusa does go through and overtakes Alex Lahoo, and Lahoo got a bit squirrely under power as well. Got to calm. There's lots of laps left, but Lahoo just looked like he was making those tiny little errors. He's got to just calm himself down, focus, get the tyres back under control, and he could still win. But for now, we've got a front wing on the track, or a rear wing on the track, sorry. So whose rear wing was that, number 1? And number 2, did that cause any issues there for Ragusa as he ran straight over it? Okay, well, there's Korosavin, Son rear wing, and that's the worst thing you can have, because every corner it makes you want to spin because you've still got your front. So he needs to slowly go back to the pit lane. This must have been backed into the wall somewhere. He's already lost his rear wing at this point. But
Van Bussel from the race by the looks.
Oh goodness, we lost Van Bussel, did we? Oh, how did we lose Van Bussel? Here we go. We're about to find out. Oh my goodness! No! Oh god! Oh no! It's the worst possible. Well. Why? Why did you go into the wall? Oh my god! It was like synchronized swimming.
That's so unfortunate though, because the drag racing guys had a really good chance of points there, but Van der Voort's still in it.
The tell you who's still in it, Alex Lahoo. Look at this, he's fighting away with, in fact, Gobby's trying to get by, and Gobby's going to do him here. Oh, well done. They're still there. Platt's looking to, Lahoo needs to calm down. Oh no! Oh no! We've lost Platt. No, we've lost Poom. We've lost Poom. So we've still got Platt, but we've lost Poom. Unfortunately, Alex did not stay calm. He was not chill, and he was battling way too hard there. Oh, Alex. This is not going to look good, this replay. I'm telling you now. He's closed him off. Yeah, and he's just pinched him. Yeah, Poom deserved way more room than that. He's lucky to still have 2 wings there. Yeah, so Alex already battling too hard. Poom's right alongside. That's poor from Alex.
Such a shame for it to end that way, and you know, I think just a bit more awareness needed from Lahoo there. He's been put offline by was it Gobby who was battling with? Sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, he's just I guess he just didn't know that Poom was there. You know, he didn't expect it, and
sometimes you got to pick your sometimes you got to pick your battles. That was not the battle to pick at that point, at that stage. You know. Here comes Platt now, so Lahoo will have damage. Platt makes his way through. Sometimes, Alex, you just got to pick your battles, mate. It's not the end of the world. If you lose a position there and then, you can fight back. He did that excellently in the middle stint, and in this final stint, his head's completely fallen off. And unfortunately, he's down P4, and I suspect the stewards will be looking at that Poom incident quite carefully. It's not exactly, well, obviously provided Poom reports it, but I would be. I mean, that he deserved a lot more room than that.
Yeah, he did. If I was Poom, I'd be really annoyed right now.
Yep. Because he's driven a quiet race, Hygo, and he'd almost got himself in with a chance of battling away in this top 4.
He didn't. He was there. It was no almost about it. He was there, and I think he maybe even sensed a chance to fight for the win. And you know, he saw Lahoo offline there and saw the opportunity and looked to capitalise on it, and he just wasn't aware.
100%. Now, this is the interesting one. Is Platt has got that big offset on tyres, right? So he's got 2 laps on. Okay, so I need to get these the right way around. So I think he's got 2 laps on. He's got 2 laps on Ragusa and 1 lap on Gobby. What tyres is Gobby on? He's on soft.
He's going to really struggle to get to the end, surely.
He's on soft. I've just noticed the red sidewall.
That could be an inspired choice. You know, the cars are lighter at this point of the race. Tyre wear's not going to be as bad. You've got more grip, so you're not having to, you know, push the tyre as hard.
Yeah.
That could work out really well for him.
Look, you have to squint hard. Like, our graphics not working today, but I can tell you, Ragusa's on mediums, Gobby's on softs, Platt's on mediums, Lahoo's on mediums. Sandeep Singh's on softs, by the way, as is Michael Ayers. That's a strange decision from Gobby, I would say. Okay. Well, this now Platt, I think, is the favourite.
He's going to really struggle on the straights, though, isn't it? That's the worry I have for Platt. You know, he can stay as close as he likes in the first sector, but he's going to really struggle to find an opportunity to pass through there, and then you know, he just falls away on the straights. It's going to be it's going to need a really bold move to get through.
Yes. Well, I don't know how to call it. I honestly don't know how to call it. You've got Gobby on soft. I told you this would happen. Just the random tyre selection that people seem to go for in the final stint. Here comes Gobby, look. In fact, Gobby's going to send it on his teammate into the final corner. And now we'll not have DRS. And
Platt's right there now.
Platt's right there. This could be anyone. Any of these top 3. I think Lahoo's too far back and probably has damage. So Ragusa's coming back. There's definitely no team orders going on here. Because Gobby they've just cost themselves. And now they're defending. Now this is Platt's opportunity. Can he get a cutback? And don't forget, there will be a tyre crossover as well, as Sandeep Singh overtakes Poom and takes over P5 from what I suspect is quite a bent TR Geeks car now. I'd like to see the on board from Poom.
Is that in the pit lane?
Wasn't he out ages ago, Scott Sober? What's going on here? Okay, hi Scott. Hope you had a nice race. Not sure what we just watched. Anyway, Dylan Platt P3, still fighting away with the TX3 drivers in front, who are fighting with themselves and just costing themselves time. I still think Platt's my favourite. Oh, I'm excited though. There's 7 laps left after this lap, and Now, you see Platt on this lap has dropped back a little. I wonder how much push to pass he has. That will also be a key ingredient to this particular spicy mixture of the end of the race, and who has that push to pass left. And
wouldn't it be nice if we could have some sort of graphic so we knew?
I know, mate. Honestly, I'm absolutely gagging for that, because I don't know why. I don't know. It must be possible somehow, or maybe it isn't. I don't know.
I'm just watching Lahu on board at the moment, and I think he might have got away unscathed. You know, he's steering straight. He's not setting the world alight with his lap times, but he just did a 36.5 on that lap, which was faster than the 2 cars ahead of him. So, you know, if this battling continues, he might still get back in it.
He's only 2 seconds back. I suspect there's a big asterisk next to his name of pending post-race penalty. Even if he does cross the line in P1, that's a big if as well from P4 right now and 2 seconds back. But you're absolutely right. You are right.
It is hard to see how he would escape penalty for that, I would say. But, you know, it's something we can't tell from just looking at the broadcast, really. Obviously, you have to look at everything. So we have to reserve judgment on that one. But you're quite right. You can't really celebrate that until you know the results of any post-race reviews.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's a big old asterisk. In fact, his best bet is to try and gap Singh by 5 seconds and hope it's only a 5. So there's quite low ride height there for Ragusa, by the way, to be scraping on the ground with his little fuel left in the tank. I hadn't commented on it previously, but you can see the sparks flying. Gobby has softs on. I knew one of them would do something different with the tyres. I didn't expect softs to be the choice. Now Gobby thinks better of this. So this is Gobby's opportunity this time round to actually make the position into T1 and actually make it stick. If Platt has any push to pass left, he should be saving it right now. So here comes Gobby then. Is he on the button? He seems to be. Is this the overtaking opportunity he needs for the race win? He certainly is going to take the lead on this lap into T1. Moves past his teammate and up into first position for Fabrizio Gobby. Once again, a nice easy DRS pass, but he is on the softs, and there's going to be a crossover soon, Chris.
Yeah, you think so, but can he take advantage of you know, the extra grip he's got from the softs now and pull a gap and escape the DRS? Because if he can do that, you know, there's half a chance he could keep that position, especially if Ragusa has to start defending from Platt. So you know, it's all to play for in these last 5 laps.
It is, and they've got some back markers ahead who I desperately hope stay out of the way. And I think is it Zongoli in front of them, who didn't cover himself in glory at Bahrain, I have to say. I hope he stays out of the way this time round. He's got 2 compatriots behind him. I believe they're all Italian anyway. I don't want to speak too much out of him, but I believe they're all Italian. Okay, fine. And is Platt going to survive that as well? Hopefully.
I think he has,
and I think
yeah.
Platt's through. Yeah, I think that's all good. That's all good. We're all good. Platt's definitely dropped off on this lap a little bit. And in fact,
at all surprised if he had a little confidence lift there.
Yeah, no, I would be too. So this time round, it's the other way round. So here comes Ragusa on the DRS. Is he pushed to passing as well, or is he just okay? So he has thought better. In fact, he doesn't even have DRS open. Okay, so if they're playing a team game, this is it for the rest of the race. If Ragusa is playing a strategy game and wants to overtake him perhaps on the penultimate lap, then that's the other reason you might not have DRS open. You'd think the tyres are going to start the sort of crossover now, considering how many laps has Gobby done? So 9 laps on those tyres, and he only got to 11 in the first stint. And he's got 4 laps left. Surely he's going to run out of tyres, surely.
Well, you know, like I say, the car's lighter now, and you know, the weight makes a huge difference. That, you know, it's probably running what, 70 kilos lighter than it was at the start of the race. That, you know, that makes a huge difference to your tyre wear.
It does. Does it make 4 laps? Does it make 2 laps difference? I don't know. They've not exactly been driving slow, have they?
No, they've not. But it's been measured. You know, we've not seen any Larry moments from him. So you know the tyres might still be in good condition. He'll certainly be hoping that anyway. But I think I think Raguse is probably just waiting for a last lap push at this point. It's what I do anyway. I
think last lap?
Yeah, I think so, because if you go past him now, then you just run the risk of having DRS overtakes every lap. So I'd do it on the last lap when there's, you know, only 1 or 2 opportunities to get through, and you know it's going to be difficult for him to get back past.
I think Platt might be too far back now. I think, barring situations, who have we got here that this Hayek, isn't it, that they're lapping, and the TTF driver stays well out the way. Congratulations on driving well there. That's good stuff. Hygo Poom and Michael Ayers are battling away for 6th position. Slightly further back. Singer's disappeared, by the way, from this battle. I reckon Poom's got quite heavy damage. Here comes Tuamela. And Tuamela does overtake Musaidis there for P11. There's still points available all the way down to P15, so absolutely worth staying in the race. If you're Korosavin and Galka, you could easily pick up a point or 2. Especially with the way that some of the drivers are racing. And back at him goes Musaidis into the final corner. Who's going to get the DR? Okay, so I think Tuamela is going to get DRS here, and he does. So again, that overtaking. Oh my goodness. Okay, he goes through on the inside. That was so close to the wall, but Tuamela does overtake Musaidis and takes that position back again. And moves back into P11, but there's points all the way to 15th, Butch, and you've got to be in it to get any points.
Absolutely, and you know it's so important to keep going to the end, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You know, there could be a last lap tangle between the leaders fighting for the win. You know, I mean, we've got Singh closing in on Lahu as well. He's just outside the DRS range now, so Lahu's pace has dropped off a little bit. So I think if Singh can get into DRS, I think that's probably a done deal, unfortunately, as well, for Lahu. But yeah, you've absolutely got to keep in it, because you just don't know what's going to happen at the end of the race.
Things drove a really good second half of this race, actually, on those softs. He's really used them to his advantage, done something a bit different, and has caught right up to Lahu.
He has, I mean, he's gained on the lead overall, actually. Just a shame that the you know, he's sort of out of kilter a little bit with his qualifying position and what have you, because I think if he'd have qualified a little bit better, then you know, we might have even seen Singh in the lead of the race right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that far off the lead actually overall, is he? He's only 6 seconds off. So yeah, those 6 seconds, you probably would lose that at the end of lap 1 just by being in wherever he was, P7 or whatever he was in qualifying. Was it 7th, I think? So something like that indeed. Let's have a quick look so I can get it actually right. He was P6. Thank you, Vince. Yeah, so there we are. So that's kind of your 5 or 6 seconds lost there. Unable to catch that back up over the course of the race, really. But he has made up positions. He's made up 1 position. He's going to get another one off Lahu, I think. Raguse is the biggest gain now, isn't it? Look, 5 positions, and a lot of that comes from the undercut that he took on the first stint, and made some positions there. So yeah, he's driven a really good race, as has Gobby. And now, okay, so Raguse is definitely going to bide his time here. Is he going to try and take the move? As here we go, here comes Singh, and he just blasts past Lahu, who frankly looks a little like, you can kind of see in the body language, he didn't even try to defend that. He has a bit of damage. Perhaps we can't really see it, Chris, but certainly doesn't seem to have the pace that he had at the start of the stint.
Yeah, it is hard to believe that he escaped from that completely unscathed. And you know, I suppose as he's dropped away from the cars in front of him, you just lose that little bit of motivation as well, don't you? So he's probably just thinking it's time to bring the car home at this point.
Yep, and that would be wise. He's got a nice big gap to Michael Ayers, who is 10 seconds back. Yeah, 10 seconds back. He probably needs all 10 seconds, to be honest, because he definitely pinched poor Hygo, and he needs as much gap as he can get if he's going to be looked at by any kind of stewards. So yeah, he's probably his best bet is to stay in DRS here. I don't like these. That's actually okay from Hayek there, I think, but still stresses me out every time they come up to a back marker. But Lahu's best bet is to stay in DRS. Now, where's Raguse this time round? This is probably the lap I would be overtaken on. So as they come into the final corner this time round, he's really, really tight to the gearbox of Gobby. This is the lap I would go for it, Chris. I know you said final lap. But this is the lap.
Going on to the final lap.
Yeah, true. He's not close enough, look.
Gobby saved his push to pass for exactly this moment, I think.
I think they were both on the button there, weren't they? Absolutely both on the button. It could still end. Oh! Okay, Lahoo's decided to fight back. Not what I would be doing, Alex, but there we go. He didn't make it work anyway. So the final lap we are on, that's TX3 1 and 2. Ragusa or Gobby?
I think it's a done deal now. I think it's Gobby.
I think you're right. If he's got any tyres left at all, Gobby, he's done exceptionally well. So we're through the first sector now. There's a couple more DRS zones. So Ragusa, if he's got any push to pass left, needs to just burn it all on this last lap. Try and get as close as he possibly can. And then try and send all the way to the start-finish line. Gonna be close. It certainly is gonna be close. He's got DRS. So we're on the final lap. There's only a few corners left. This is the first first of two DRS zones he has before that final corner. And as they go into this sort of middle chicane, he's got one last DRS zone, and then he's got the run down to the start-finish line. And it looks like Gobby's got enough. You know, they are close. And Ragusa's on the button. He's on the DRS. Yeah, is he going to send it here though, Chris? Would you send it here or you wait?
I would, because he's not going to have DRS for very long on the finish straight.
What? Oh, broad the throttle. Has he got anything left? He has. They're going to run to the line. It's gonna be. It's Gobby. It's Gobby by fractions. Oh, what a finish! And it was so tight. But it's Gobby by fractions. Platt takes third from Sandeep Singh in the end from Lahoo. But Ragusa there, he nearly stole it, Chris.
He did. I wonder if they were just going for a bit of a formation finish there, because it looked like they both lifted off to me. I'm not 100% sure.
Don't take it away from me. It was exciting. They were so close to the start-finish line. It might have been a bit of theatrics, but nevertheless, it was so close there as they crossed the line. In fact, it was 0.046, but Gobby takes the win. So it's one win apiece this season for the TX3 drivers. Suddenly, McGorky's lead's been well eaten into. And poor Owen, absolutely the class of the field this season, can do nothing about a disconnect. And yeah, it's wide open again. And but what a race, Chris.
Yeah, who would have thought that, you know, Owen just sort of minding his own business in the lead, and then you know, really unfortunate disconnect for him, and you know, really sad for Owen, but you know, gave us a fantastic race to watch. I'm just disappointed my call for the win didn't come through.
I have to say, it was a brave call, and Alex has done his best today. But oh, look at this green on green action we got going on here. Yeah, it was a brave call to say Alex Lahoo, but a 1-2 for TX3. They're going to hit each other. 1-2 for TX3. They both drove very interesting and different races. The soft final stint from Gobby was a brave call, and it worked.
It did, and it just showed, you know, how looking after your tyres pays off at the end, really. Fantastic job.
I'm always out of breath a little bit with Superlights. But there we go. Fabrizio Gobby takes the win. Giuseppe Ragusa second, and Dylan Platt, very admirable thirds. Just didn't quite have the pace in that final stint. Tried something different and took the podium as a result. Sandeep Singh, excellent final stint to come home P4. Alex Lahoo fifth. Michael Ayers had a quiet race to P6, and Hygo Poom actually at one point could have been in the battle for the win as well, but ended up P7. Ragosa and P8. Francesconi brothers, Michael, and then Christian rounding out the top 10 for TG. Gallery 82's Nua Tuamela is in P11 in the end of that race. Stavros Mazadis 12th. Tom van der Voort 13th Jaroslav Hayek in 14th position. The final point scorer was Flavio Zongoli, and then the only other two finishers was Michal Galka and Dominique Korshavin, with Van Bussel, Sovic, Faber DNFs. And we also had Craig Patterson for Fusion DNFing, Sylvia Yoffer for TTF DNF. Obviously Owens, very unfortunate disconnect, but in 23rd therefore as a DNF, and Lorenzo Capolini, and an early retirement for Remco DeZeo rounding out the field. And of course we lost Joseph Herlock from P2 on the grid on the formation lap. That's just as gutting. That was a fun race. I enjoyed that. Thank you for joining me, Chris. I very much appreciate that. We've got German Grand Prix coming up next on the 16th of May, which is 2 weeks away, and then we have a little break before the Spanish Grand Prix on the 13th of June. So keep an eye out for the dates. There's going to be a 4-week gap. But before we go tonight, we are going to speak to a couple of the drivers. I'm going to drag in Dylan Platt, who was on the podium today. And we'll ask him a couple of questions, Chris. I think it'll be nice to hear from Dylan, see how he feels the race went. Hello, Dylan. Dylan, how was your race today? How do you feel?
Oh, well, you can't be disappointed with the podium, can you? But there's always a little bit which is you had that one bit more. It was so close today.
It was. Dill, I want to ask you, obviously you extended that final stint. Absolutely the right call. It's the only way you were going to ever have a chance, I think. But you kind of lost pace as the stint went on. Was that just the nature of how well TX3 drove, or was it just something else going on?
Yeah, you saw it. Those two are DRSing each other, so it's really hard to keep up. And then I made a stupid mistake, which overheated the rears, so I had to try and bring those back down. So, yeah, that was not fun to deal with for the last couple of laps. Managed to get the tyre temps back down, and Sandeep was all over me. So,
Chris, would you like to ask Dill a question?
Yeah, I think we saw from that race a few sort of contrasting approaches with some higher downforce setups and lower downforce setups. It looked like you were maybe running a bit more wing than the TX3 guys ahead of you. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that and whether you think a different approach might have sort of brought you more into the battle for the lead.
yeah, I mean, obviously on the straight, we're just losing so much time, even with DRS. However, towards the end of stints, I don't know if it's quite obvious, I think. We started coming back with tyre wear. So that's what we're kind of hoping for. We could stay closer in dirty air. So we hoped we won't be in a DRS train, which we were, so it didn't work.
Fair enough, Dill. Well done on the podium, mate. You drove well. You're actually putting together a reasonably consistent season. Actually, it's going well.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah. What's that? Your second podium in where were you last time? Oh, fifth, weren't you last time? So yeah.
Australia.
Yeah, Australia was the last one. But well done, mate. Thank you for joining us for a little interview. Appreciate that. Well done.
Yep. Cheers.
Who should we speak to next, Chris?
I'd like to hear from Owen.
Okay, let's hear from Owen. Here he is now, Mr. McGorgy. Said it in the broadcast, mate. There's nothing worse than a disconnection, and obviously there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely gutted for you, mate. But it's a long championship, right?
It's very long. I mean, I'm still 25 points in the lead, so I can't complain about the other results. Maybe today was a little bit unlucky, but I've got over it now. I didn't really have any reaction. I knew I practically knew I was going to disconnect because I disconnected from practice like 10 times before the race, and then it seemed like it got fixed, and then it just came out of nowhere.
Do you think it's something you'll be able to resolve for the rest of the season, or is it a case of it's one of those things that you're not really sure what's going on?
Apparently, there's an issue in the area, and it's been going on for the past couple of days. But this is the first time that I actually started disconnecting from our RF2. But it was nothing to do with what I had in like pre-season. That wasn't actually internet issues. That was just because, well, yeah, it's a plugin that I had for my wheel, and the game didn't like it, and it just kept disconnecting me, which was funny.
I was going to ask you about that. Was it related to pre-season? So at least you got a handle on the pre-season issues.
Yeah.
So this is even worse almost. It's like you've solved the issue that you had, and now it's just a completely random, nothing you can do about it.
Well, I almost had it in Australia because that was when Virgin Media was, not very good.
Call them out, Owen. Tell us who it is.
I mean, yeah. What are they going to do? They're not watching the GPV broadcast.
Oh man, I'm so gutted for you. But nevertheless, thank you for coming in and speaking to us.
I've got one more question. If you don't mind.
Go on, Chris. I just before you ask, I just want to say thanks, Owen, as well for your cheat sheet. Very much appreciated that you sent me before the race. Really appreciate that.
That's all right.
Go on, Butch.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, sort of, how do you pick yourself up from here? Do you take comfort from the fact that you've got a decent lead in the championship to fall back on, or do you do you feel nervous about the rest of the season and whether you're going to see a repeat of it, or do you just put that at the back of your mind and just do the best job you can on track, basically?
I mean, I don't really. I don't know. It's been an hour since the disconnect, and I'm already feeling all right. I think it'll be fine. Fingers crossed. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I'll be doing a bit of practice for the Nürburgring, but the mod looks absolutely not as good as the DLC. I'll say that. But I'll do a couple laps. Sandeep's going on holiday, so I won't have anyone to practice with for the week. So it's just going to be chill. As long as I know the internet's going to be all right.
Yeah, best of luck at Nürburgring in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, we can't use DLC content. It's we've got to keep costs down and all the rest of it for everyone involved. But nevertheless, Chris Williamson has done an excellent job at Jeddah. I think we can all agree on that, Owen.
Oh, Jeddah was amazing, but I can't even run the Nürburgring DLC because my computer can't even handle it, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, thank you for speaking to us, Owen, and best of luck in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers.
Let's do one more, Chris, quickly. Should we speak to Mr. Lahoo?
I think we have to, don't we?
Let's speak to Mr. Lahoo. Where is he? There he is. Try to come in. Thank you. Mr. Alex Lahoo. Hello.
Hello, guys. I apologize for my coughing.
That's no worries, mate. Look, I said it in the broadcast, and I mean this with love. You're a very fast driver, but sometimes your head just completely falls off, and it seemed that way in the third stint today. Talk us through it.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for having massive lag spike issues mid-race. I let Dylan through, but Hygo suffered the consequences in Sector 1. I just saw a car fly in my mirror, and I wasn't sure if it was the actual game sending me the image of Hygo flying, or if it was me lagging out, like the car just teleporting. Guess what? It was the first option. Nice. So,
you disappointed me, that Alex, because you were my pick for the race win. Believe it or not, how do you pick yourself up from here? You've had for the most part in the race a fantastic performance, and it looked like you could be battling for the win. And also, are we going to see you on the grid again? Because I think you've done. Have you done 4 reserve races now for Red Arrow?
Yep.
So
Yep.
Are you looking for a full-time seat, or is that sort of the end of your time in Superlights? Which would be a shame if that is the case.
I think for now will be the end. Probably next year I will come back to Superlights as full time. The plan is to go up one by one. FS2, then FS1, then Superlights, and if I can, Super League. But sorry again for Hygo for running his race, even though I wasn't completely sure what was happening. I got the replay of what was happening on my screen, so he can take a look if he wants, even though I don't think he wants to check the replay right now. So I apologize in advance.
Fair enough, Alex. And well done
Sorry.
for apologising. That's all good, mate. You know, obviously, if it's lag spikes, then fair enough. But I mean, it seems like you're very fast, and I think with a couple of seasons under your belt, you'll be a very, very talented GPVWC driver. And sometimes it just takes a couple of seasons to get that experience under your belt. So, looking forward to watching you in the next couple of years.
Thank you, Toby. And Chris, sorry for failing you. I know I was your pick, but those green cars, they had a rocket ship engine or something. Too quick on the straight, I couldn't do anything.
They were quick on the straight. They were.
Yeah, Vital 1, they were just ahead. But yeah.
It's all good, Alex. Look after yourself. If you got like a cough or whatever, look after yourself and see you in a couple of weeks, okay?
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the podium sitters. Dylan, congrats. And to the green cars as well. Fabrizio and Giuseppe. Rocket chips.
Well done, mate. Speak to you soon, all right?
All right. Bye-bye. See you soon.
And that concludes our interviews. Thank you for stepping up last minute. Ewan has some important stuff he has to do today, so appreciate you jumping in last minute, Chris. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
I've enjoyed myself, and it's been nice to watch the race from the other side.
Yeah. Do you know what? I enjoy, that's why I enjoy more than anything else. Actually, is since not sim racing anymore. I guess you can't really say retire when you're 31, but since not doing sim racing anymore, it's nice to actually kind of do the commentary side and do the engineering side. It brings a different perspective on it. It's still something I really enjoy doing. I'm just not quick anymore. I don't know how you feel.
I think it depends what it is. I'm clearly not quick enough in the Super League car right now, but yeah, I'm having fun elsewhere. I'm still racing, so I wouldn't class myself as retired. But
well, this is the thing about GPP is that there is a championship for everyone, and if you guys are watching for the first time and you're still here, by the way, thanks. Do jump in on our Discord and see if there's a championship for you. The Academy series is a great place to start, and as Alex rightly points out, there is a ladder system here, and you go from Formula Sprint 2, Formula Sprint 1, Superlights, which you just watched, and of course the Premier Class Super League, which is on Thursday. Do not miss it. It's going to be and hopefully an incredible race like we saw today. So keep your eyes peeled. Thank you, Butch.
Thank you, Toby.
And thank you, Vincent Gutt, as well, for camera work. Also last minute in place of Shimon, who was busy tonight. So thanks, Vince. Appreciate your work. He said thanks, I don't know if you can hear him. But thank you, everyone. Until the next time, until then, see you all soon.